Hello, everyone. No intro this morning. There's Brad in the workshop. So we're just hanging out. Brad's making pallets today.
Palais. Le Palais.
Le palais. I don't know what B. It was B in French.
B.
Yeah, bees.
Le Stingy.
Le stingy. La spicy. So
Le
now that
Stingy,
France
le
has banned
Skyrizon.
us and Quebec has banned us for today, we can get going. So my wife got me a new shirt. Bees better have my honey.
Better have my honey. Bees better have my honey.
She got me another one. I'll show that one a little bit later. But just hanging out, and it was supposed to rain, but it looks like the sun's starting to poke through out there.
Oh, son, that was nice.
And yeah, I saw you had some of that white fluffy stuff coming down there.
Yeah, that's a nice, kind way to do it. Oh, air compressor time.
The compressor comes right on cue. We got the bigger screen because, people like to see what Brad's doing in the shop, and this is a little bit easier. Well, while we're waiting on the compressor, I'll go ahead and show this one. This is what I have right now. So if you have something different than this, and I am wrong,
there we go.
Then let me know.
Well, the air compressor going.
Now you can hear me now.
If that was for me.
So I got the streamer going across the bottom of the current Swarm Rustler Championship standings of people that have submitted it in. And if you got something other than this, you got to contact me and let me know, because what I've noticed people are doing is they're posting and I'm having to find them. And that's not good if I got to find them. So it's better if you at least tag me, or, hey, tag me or send me an email that, hey, I had this, here's the link. And that works out a little bit better, but get you going there. So Brad, what I like that you're building pallets today, but I would like to know, and I think you've said this before, but I'll ask it anyway. The pallets that you're building, they all have the same footprint. Is that correct? And based on your...
Yeah, that's exactly it, actually.
But they have different clips settings where you would set the clips based on whether you're running 3 6s or 2 10s or...
That's exactly it. Let me just lay this out for you. So what I'm building here is a 3-way pallet. So what I'll do eventually is
I'm going to make you big.
These back cleats on here. I guess I can lower this a little bit. You'd rather see the pallet than my ugly face. Anyway. So put these back in. That side first. Then the all important part is what I call center trim. Like this. Okay.
So that would be a 3 6.
So
3 by 6.
And I've got one here for pallet, 6-frame box. It's just as wide, 10-frame box, of course, and then it straddles 2 clips there, clips in there. That's this U clip, 2-inch by 2-inch kind of thing, and that'll mount right there in the front, in the back, both sides.
Now, are those U-clips something you could get from like Uline or somewhere like that, or is that something you can get at a regular hardware store, or do you have to buy it from a B supply?
I don't know. I think it's a B supply thing. I'm just looking for a different one here. I think it's a bee supply thing. And the deal about these is, you remember that my boxes, Canadian boxes, are made with 7/8 material. So you may recognize that as being a little thicker than a 3/4 inch box that you might use in the States. So that is made to fit 2 of those. That would work for 3/4 box, but the other way around, it wouldn't work because the clip would be too narrow. So if you're using 3/4 inch box, you might want those. However, there's another clip. This is called a U clip. I have one here, but it's disappeared in the dump pile. It's called a W clip, and it's wider. And the only one I have is made for a 3/4 inch box. And what it has is where the screw holes are here, it has raised up. So the bottom of it goes down, and then it comes up in the middle, maybe that far. So it actually gives you a gap. I don't know what it is, 1/2 inch gap or 3/4 inch gap between your boxes. That's kind of nice because it allows that to stay dry, perhaps, and for you to clean that out. With the U-clip, these boxes sit tight against one another. That's nice for our colder weather so that the hives can share heat resources. But it does sometimes play havoc with the boxes because you can get rot or something. Eventually you'll get dirt and stuff that it finds its way in there, and then that collects moisture and it can rot the box. So, it's a trade-off. These are nice for me because I run the microspray covers, and then the covers are nice and tight together, all that sort of thing. I've got the chat up here on my big screen, so that's what I'm looking up.
Thought you might have been watching eclipses or something.
Watching eclipse. U-clip, W-clip, and E-clip.
And eclipse, that's right. So then the center piece that you'd use as a back, you don't attach that. That allows you to put it on either side if you want all the entrances facing one direction, or if you want them alternated.
I'll attach everything the way it is here, and again, I don't have one right in my hand, but I have a little wedge piece that I could put in here. So this center nuke bottom board will have an opening on this end and on that end, and that's handy because sometimes you want to use this as a mating nuke setup, and in that case you want entrance just for entrance diversity mating. But I was watching, that's the way Ian does it, and I was watching him do that, and then I watched him put his bees away, and you may or may know, in his bee building, his wintering building, his pallets, his 2-way pallets, they sit back to back in there, so there'd be a big stack back to back, 2 ways all the way down the row. But at the end, he's got a stack of 3 ways that he can't put back to back because there's one entrance on this side all the time, right? So then I developed this kind of pallet so that then in winter he could, or somebody in that situation could pop that entrance.
Well, let's just say it as it is. Carrie could put it on the other end.
Yeah, just pop it out from this side. Like this would be the back. Pop that out from this side, put it on this side. Now all your entrances are on one side. You can stick your nukes back to back. And not only that, but because these are identical in every way but these shims, then you don't need to worry where the nukes are necessarily in your winter building. They'll stack with the 10 frame boxes exactly.
Perfect.
Because
Nice.
the dimension of the pallet is 100% identical in that regard. So the covers lock in. The covers lock into the runners. It's all identical in every way. So it seems like a good system.
So I guess if you have all the entrances in one direction, if you left it like that, would you think you'd get much drift in that situation?
I don't seem to. I run them. I don't run these as mating nukes much. So in my situation, I actually just put a screw in that piece in the back to hold it in there full time because I don't really move it around in my situation.
But if all the entrances are one side, you don't notice that the bees drift between the 3 boxes that much, or you can't really tell.
like, how do you know that? Do you know it's drift, or do you know it's just one queen that's not as strong as the other? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to judge, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean they are variable, but maybe it's drift. I don't know. Perhaps.
Okay. So, what's your goal on how many of those you want to assemble today?
I can typically do about 10. If I do the shims and all, I can do about 10 in a day before I get 4 out. Just standing here is the determining factor. It's very hard on my hips. But I've got this one and 2 more, and then I'm done building 3 ways. Some of these over here I haven't put shims on. I haven't done that yet. But then I have 100 2 ways to build, so I'll be at this a while.
Yeah, if you definitely have your work cut out.
10 good days. And, these days I'll maybe get 2 or 3 days a week in, right? So that's 3 4 weeks. And then once that's all done, there's only one thing left really to do. 2 things, but is to bring them all back, flip them over, run them through the table saw, because this front end took the easy way out when I cut the plywood. And the pallet is typically like 21 5/8 front to back. But typically this year, what I did was I just see it there. I just cut the plywood in half. I cut the sheet in half, so it's 24 inches. I left the extra in the front, and then I just flip that upside down and I run that nice and flush.
But I tell you what, watching your other constructions there with the lids and stuff like that, where you come back and trim it, the thing is, it always looks perfect when you're done doing it that way.
Makes a nice, like, when I trim that and all the pieces that are involved, because in that cover there's 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. If you look at the side of that cover, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces to joint together, right? And when I put that together and then I run that through the table saw and trim every piece at the same time, it is 100% exactly perfectly smooth and lined up, all 6 pieces all at one time. And I'll tell you, that is a thing of beauty. I love doing that. It really finishes it off nice.
I saw how you stopped that breakout by starting one side and then flipping it over and cutting it.
And then I flip it over that way.
And it just
and then on the covers, of course, doing the round overs here all the way around, whatnot.
And then after all of that's said and done, it gets shipped off to the wax dipper to dip them.
Yeah, this one, I don't know that this one's been used. It's been in the shop here forever. It's wax dip, and I built it probably 4 or 5 years ago. So that's just one I keep here to, if I'm doing runners, I can take this and set it on my runners to make sure I've got my dimensions just right, because you don't want to build a whole whack of pallets and realize the runners are too far apart and they won't lock into your covers. That would suck. And it does suck. Guess how I know that. It's like
figured it out the hard way, right?
And I've glued everything together, right? It's like, oh my God, what do I do?
And by the time you realize that all the glue's dry.
Oh yeah, usually.
And I mean, you really, I'm not a woodworker, but just watching your videos and stuff that and these chats that we've done like this, where you've shown assembly and putting them together, that you definitely learned the lesson of measure twice and cut once.
Oh man, I specifically remember when I started. I've toyed with carpentry and stuff my whole life since I was a little kid, but I never really took it seriously as an adult until maybe 10 years ago or so, 10, 12 years ago. And I remember when I did, having a conversation with my wife one day, saying, you know what? I'm very frustrated because it seems like every time I cut a piece of wood, it's wrong. And it's going to be too short. It's not like, oh, well, I'll cut that again, right? I wasted so much material because I cut it wrong. And so measure twice, cut once. And the one particular thing that helped me out the most is a program called SketchUp. I use SketchUp to model all of my builds, almost all of my builds, so that I can see on the screen that this is going to work. And then I can take all the dimensions right off the screen to the table saw. And I almost never cut it wrong. I mean, I can get the table saw set wrong, but the SketchUp
Right.
model will tell me exactly what that should be.
And I mean, now being and I've been to your shop there, right? So, one of the things that I know just from being there is how your space is well utilized. I mean, it's like in the in the honey house there, right? I mean, we explained in that one video how you have to take stuff out and move it around different times a year to be able to utilize it the most efficient way. And we always see this view of your shop, but I know right off camera on the other side is an orange Kubota and a couple pallets of packed honey and stuff over there, right?
I've rearranged the honey house now, so the Kubota actually can sit indoors, because this was getting so full that he was sitting outside, which is not a big deal in the summer, but the sun does get at it like everything else. So you're right. Of course, on this side, this is the honey that I've just brought from the packer. I just got some empty pails sitting here, and then different honey that I've got here, pre-customer honey. I'm not too proud about this.
Now, I was there 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And 2 months ago, the honey was up closer to the door, by the porch, and the Kubota was there behind it.
That's right.
So since you've emptied the bees out of the honey house, now you can move that. So you keep everything
a little more flexibility right now, because the honey house is going to be filling up, because these will be stored in there until they're ready to go to customer. So these take up a lot of space. I put my covers are in there now, but there's only 4 pallets. They're small, so they fit on 4 pallets. These take up a lot of space.
I'm going to take this as a compliment. He said his shed is less organized than mine.
Well, and you know what? This is another point that in self-defense, and I think people they'll come in and see this place or the honey house or whatever, and they'll kind of say, wow, you ever just got a lot of random crap in here? There is some random crap in here, but if you came in here every week, that would tell you a different story.
It's different random crap.
It's different every week. Every day something else gets moved through here, or like this here. Right outside the door, I've got material waiting to come in here to be built into pallets. So I've got material here on the floor. It's so congested I can hardly move my camera. So I've got this pallet of plywood here and here. That's what I'm picking off to make the pallets, and then the finished pallets are sitting here. And when I'm run out of space here, then I'll take those, run through the table saw, stack them up, wrap them, and put them in the honey house. So yeah, it doesn't stay static very long at all. It doesn't stay static long at all. It's not just the gradual crap. There's sufficient amount of crap in here, but changed a lot.
Well, my wife wanted to clean my office up the other day, and I told her, no, don't. I said, I know there's a bunch of junk everywhere, but if you move and put something somewhere, I'll still not know where it's at. If I move and put it somewhere, then I have a general idea.
You have less chance of finding it if somebody touches it. I know. I have things, and I have a few things that they will sit in a general location, and will have no idea why they sit in that location, but don't move them, because
Right.
that's where I look for those things every time. Every time I need those.
But you do some other things up there too. Like I know your wife was helping you build frames because someone ordered manufactured frames from you.
Let me bring you over here. So my wife is she's a lovely petite woman, and I'm more of a giant. She calls me a giant. So what we did,
I like the term ogre.
ogre, I say caveman. When we got married, I said to her, if there's ever a time you don't understand what I'm thinking, just think caveman, and it'll all be clear.
Fire.
So I set up this little station here, which is lower than the table saw station by a good amount. And she'll come here and build frames. See, she built 100 mediums for me here for customer.
Which is unusual because you don't use mediums.
I don't use mediums as a rule, but I have some, right? And I keep some here for customers because people order things. So I'll have a couple boxes of foundation, 200 or 300 medium frames, ready to be assembled. Yeah. So sorry for moving the camera around so much.
Well, it's nothing like one of my videos.
Yeah.
Without
At least it's on a tripod.
Someone. Now I got to get up. Take the show for a second. I got to look out the window. Someone just honked the horn.
Oh, somebody's coming to buy honey. So, okay, I got to interact with the chat, with the comments. So put your comments in there, and I'm just looking at the comments on my channel.
And they actually parked. Where do you think, of all the places in my place, they could park?
In the bee yard?
Over right in the bees.
Yeah.
So,
well, they want honey, so they have to go to the bees. Right?
They have to go to the bees, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, and then I'll have to walk out there. So.
Nice work, thanks.
I'm going to make you large on the screen.
Oh, don't make me any bigger.
Ta-da! Because I got to walk out there and
bigger.
Check this customer. I'll be right back.
I'm big enough. I'm big enough. So, I'm going to have you build all my gear and pay you for a road trip. Do good work. Thanks, DC. Yeah, DC said I thought maybe you'd grown up in woodworking. Well, kind of. I had a lot of good woodworkers in my life. So they introduced it to me, introduced me to it when I was young. And I did do some of it, sure. I actually, growing up, I used to help when there was time to build a house or an addition to a house or a garage or a building or a granary, or I'd help doing that. But that's framing and sheeting, and I did some roofing and whatnot as I was a young person. I didn't really do a lot of finish work, like applying woodworking. I had never really worked hardwood until 10 or 12 years ago, and that was a real treat. Hardwood is in so many ways so much nicer to work with than softwood is, in my opinion, because I can mill a piece of hardwood like a piece of steel, get it so accurate. Softwood, it's a little different. It's not as easy to get things bang on accurate, and I think softwood does change size a lot more through varying humidity, atmospheric humidity. You learn where your cabinet maker. Yeah, no, well, learned it. Yeah, I kind of did because I studied some fine woodworking 10 or 12 years ago. So I learned a lot of technique. I'll show you something here that I made just off camera. Very covered in dust. This is the project that I built. One of my very first projects, actually. There's a TV show website, PBS kind of thing called, what is it called? Woodsmith Shop. And they have some really good tip techniques and videos on how to do things with cover dust. So this is a little clock. It's a craftsman style clock made out of white oak. And the key to this project, this came from, it's a ceramic tile. It came from a place down near Detroit, Michigan. There's a company that makes these by hand. They're kind of expensive, but they're sure nice. So the key with this one is it's all handwork. Other than some rough cutting, maybe on table saw, it's all mortise and tenon joinery. All of these rails that are mortised into here, and it's all white oak. All of these, it fell on the floor and broke the edge. So this, these are screws that hold the top on, and then there's oak blanks put in there and finished flush. So I really like that project. It's really pretty, and I learned a lot doing that because, like I say, it's all handwork, hand cut mortises and whatnot in there. Yeah, thanks, DC. I'm just reading the comments so I can keep up with you. And I built another one. This is one of the first things I actually designed. And forgive me, everything gets so dusty in here. But it's kind of a little clock too, right? But this is 2 pieces of oak glued together, and made the classic craftsman square hole design here. And I used my mortiser for that. There's a machine that's kind of like a drill bit, but it's like a drill press, but it'll drill square holes, oddly enough. And then this is just a little clock movement from Lee Valley. And I actually designed that whole thing. I don't think I got the dimensions quite right. The overhang is pretty big and all that, but yeah, it's a nice little clock, right? And I love white oak. I've got this. This is a Minwax stain. It's called Early American. So I think it kind of emulates Stickley's work that he did way back 100 and some years ago. He used a lot of white oak and cherry wood, and they used to fume. They would take white oak and they would fume it with ammonia. Don't do that; it's very dangerous. And the ammonia reacts with the tannins in the white oak and darkens it and gives it a real depth. But you don't want to do that nowadays. It's very dangerous, and it's much easier just to put a stain on. This one I actually put my brand on there. Fake Woodcraft, handcrafted by Fake Woodcraft. So yeah, little things.
I'm back.
Hey,
that's my second lost sale of the week. Being out of honey sucks.
Oh, that sucks.
So it's a good thing I sold it all. Bad thing I didn't have enough to keep selling.
DC, it can be difficult to get the sanding to blend and have equal balance to the eye. Expand on that. How much you finished for rolling on it? Okay, so sanding. If you're trying to stain pine, it's a losing battle. You can't stain pine and make it look nice. It just doesn't work.
It's blotchy.
Yeah, very blotchy. Best you can do is sanding sealer or a good layer of shellac, and then try to stain it. But I wish I could show you. There was a coffee table I built out of white oak. This is a beautiful big coffee table. It's about 42 inches square, and a cabinet with drawers on each side and everything. Gorgeous. And I used the technique that I learned for that. I'm trying to think of how I can describe that to you. I'll use this piece of wood here. So just like the white oak in those projects I showed you, I stained that. One of the problems you have is that end grain, remember end grain is a lot like a collection of straws. So the end grain will soak up a lot more stain than a face grain or side grain. And what the coffee table was the edge of it went just down like this, like a lot of tables. They just have, it's called a thumbnail kind of a thing. It looks like the end of your thumb, the end of your thumb. So what you get is you go from a face grain on the top, angled down through the end grain along the edge. And what I didn't want was this ribbon around the outside, or at least on two ends of this, that was dark stain. So what I did there was I sanded the whole project up to, I think, 320 grit. And then I hand sanded most of that project. It was quite something. And I hand sanded the end grain on the end of the coffee table, 400 grit. It might have been 220 and 400, but anyway, it was a higher grit. It was a quite a bit higher grit. And so the end grain was sanded to a far smoother and then therefore more closed finish. So then when I stained it, the two came out perfectly. It was a perfect transition from face grain to end grain as it came around that detail on the coffee table, because the end grain was sanded to a higher grit to close off those pores. So I was very happy that turned out. It wasn't my idea. I learned that from some of the stuff I'd studied. So, yeah. Well, I tried. I like the. That's what goes on when I can't sleep at night. It's like, how can I make it better? How can I make it nicer? You know, when I've got hundreds of it to do, I have to make sure I can do it within reason. You know, if I had all winter to make one, then it would be even nicer. But you know,
yeah, I'm having the same problem there, Denny. Denny Ray says that he needs to buy a bucket of honey. He only has 20 bottles left. I am out. And you wouldn't think it's a big thing on April 19th, but you still got May, June, 2.5 months before you have any. So
for me, May, June, July, and August.
You still got a bit left, though.
DC's talking about the brand. So this is the brand I use. It's a very basic little brand. I just use my propane torch to heat it up. And
how long do you have to torch that before you can get an effective brand?
It takes a couple of minutes to warm it up. It's pretty easy to keep it warm because it's got some mass to it, but it does take a couple of minutes to get it. You got to get it really cooking. But I can run maybe 2, 3, or 4 brands if I get it really nice and steamy hot. And if you want to, people ask you, so where'd you get the brand? Okay, brand new .com. Brand new. That's the company. They're down in California. That's an in-house design. I just gave them the name. So I just chose that design they already had and then said, put Faith Woodcraft on the bottom. But you can send them any artwork you want and they'll make a brand right out of that. It just obviously costs you more money.
So how far behind are we putting you with this live stream?
Not at all. I'm pretty tired. This week has gone by really fast. Spoiler alert on the vlog tomorrow. I was on the road most of the last 2 days. I went down to Ian's on Wednesday and I had to go do my Winnipeg run on Thursday. And I'm tired. I used to be able to do that when I was younger. I could drive halfway to the West Coast and catch a nap and then drive the rest. But I can't hardly drive to Ian's back now.
Sound like me. I can't even hardly stay up a full day. Full work day.
Of course, it's a 2-hour drive to Ian's, and then we sat in the honey house and talked for 3 hours, and then a 2-hour drive home. So it's still a long day.
I've been getting up, I don't know, early for me, right? Getting up around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and then going out and doing my first round in the bee yard, whatever that is. And usually I'm sweat through by the time I come back in, and then I get something to drink and let my bee suit dry out a little bit, and then put it back on and go back out for another little bit.
I'm here. I'm just going to walk off camera.
And so it's getting to where like it's 82 degrees right now, and apparently when I walked outside for the customer, it had rained a bit, just like a quick downpour, and then was done. And so you know what that means when you put heat in a little bit of moisture, humidity.
Humidity.
Yeah, humidity for sure.
So one of the more important pieces of equipment in a wood shop is the wood shop fridge.
When it's got, as Todd calls them, barley pops.
You can put a lot of different things in a wood shop fridge.
I go out in the honey house and
DC's putting comments up here, and I don't know. I'm looking at comments on my channel, so I don't know if you're seeing them, Bob.
I see it'll have a little chain link on it, so I see all the comments. It's just sometimes I got to think where they're coming from.
He's looking at he's being complimentary, and I really appreciate that. He comes from experience too. So my experience in wood stuff is not as much carpentry and woodworking necessarily. I grew up kind of around lumber process. The old fellas in my community were log drivers. I think that's really hilarious, because how many people could say that? And so I grew up around people who ran sawmills. We ran a planer mill that, we ran right until the time the thing was over 100 years old. And so that was lumber to me. It was just lumber. But so that that just went into building like that. Yeah, I put the wrong thing up here. I could have put the other one up. Saw the chat, but I don't see it all.
Well, I put a little video out. I think it's 12 and a half minutes or something a little bit earlier today, where I went out. I started the video.
Again, I'm here just off camera.
Okay. I started the video specifically to go check the waxed foundation to see if this little 2-frame nuke I moved into a 6-frame with 4 frames of foundation had started anything. And it was probably, I don't know, it was probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it really wouldn't have been a full day when I was out there looking at it. And I mean, I was surprised how quick they got on to that freshly waxed foundation to start drawing it out. And then I checked one of the nukes that I put in 19 days ago today, and it is doing really well. She's got 7 frames of brood in 3 weeks, and some of that was one of the ones that I actually checkerboarded some foundation in with them and stuff like that. So I mean, she really just went to town laying it up. So they're doing pretty good. All my other nukes look pretty much like that one. Some of them just have a second box on them. The ones that have the second box are the ones that I actually had put some drawn foundation in there with them to begin with. So they're about a week ahead. So maybe this weekend they'll get a second box as well, so they can start moving up. That was an
interesting little experiment you did with side by side. Put foundation and put drawn comb, and
you don't think about it that much, but when you're starting a new colony, 1 week is a big difference. I mean, it's a pretty big difference, 1 week, compared to them having to draw it all up. I mean, that's going to take them a few days, right? And if you got a queen that's Johnny on the spot, so to speak, and she gets on it and starts laying it before the workers can start plugging it full of nectar and stuff, that's pretty important. But
I've seen that quite a few times, where you put some foundation in, like, for example, if you catch a swarm or something, you put foundation in, and swarms are just going to draw comb like crazy. And the bees will draw the foundation out just a little bit, and
there's an egg in
there's
it.
eggs in it. It's like they've got to draw that out like 4 times as much before it can house that pupa.
And then cap it.
And yeah,
and then cap it.
But she's just walking around. Oh, look, comb. She just squats down and dumps an egg in it, and it's not even drawn at all, hardly.
So the thing that I find that's amazing about that is it kind of myth busts for me. I've always said, and I'm sure people that have watched the streams and stuff have heard me say that if you've only got a little bit of bees, she's only going to lay up enough for them to cover. Not this time of year. This time of year, because it's warm enough outside where they don't have to moderate the temperature that much, she'll just go crazy.
I don't know that she regulates it. They regulate that. And often they'll regulate that by cannibalizing the eggs. She just goes about her job. And then they decide how much they can support, and they'll cannibalize everything else. So
but then once it's capped, they don't stay on it that much.
Well, I mean, they can if the weather gets cold, and then it'll shelf. We see rings of capped chilled brood all the time here in the spring, because I may get some here tomorrow night. It's going to be about -4 tonight. I mean, -4 tonight. I was going to bring my bees in this week. Just thought there's only 5 pallets of bees out there, so I thought I'll just bring them in. I'll put them in there for a couple days and take them out again. And then it started raining like crazy. I can't move my tractor. I can't hardly walk. It's so muddy. So it's like, okay.
Well, with
a few days.
with the way it is here right now, 19 days ago, that was 3 frames of bees and brood, and basically 2 foundations that came in these nukes. I knew, and that's the way I bought them like that, right? Last year, it was just 3 frames of bees. This year, because of the box difference, it was 3 frames of bees and 2 blank foundations. Same thing, just a couple more frames and foundation in there. And so for her to have 19 days later, 7 frames of brood, she's getting it. I mean, she's absolutely just doing everything she can, which is good, because in 3 weeks from now, it'll be the first week in May. And guess what happens? The honey flow will be going like crazy. So hopefully I can pull. I should. It hasn't shown it so far, but for some reason, Mother Nature has this way of averaging itself out, right? And I'm going to have to call BS, because the last 2 seasons, everyone says, oh, spring's here, we're early. But, okay, so the bloom started a little bit early, but then it kind of cooled off again. So then the other flowers and plants still aren't doing what, when they're supposed to. And now they're kind of on schedule here. So
the snow we got, and I have, again, spoiler alert for the vlog tomorrow, but there's an inch of snow or something out there. Started snowing. Well, it snowed most yesterday, but it didn't start collecting until evening. But I'm not a snow fan, but I was expecting it. I absolutely was expecting it, because every time I look through my pictures that I take in the spring, I always have a picture of the apiary with a good blanket of snow on it in April. So I was waiting for the snow, and well, that's exactly what we got. And we got away lucky; we didn't get that much, so it's all right. It'll be gone tomorrow.
Look at this comment. Installed 4 nukes and 3 packages. I used drawn comb, 4 frames, and 2 frames of food from last year, per y'all's recommendations from Lee's live stream. The packages are doing close to as good as the nukes because of the drawn comb.
Yeah.
It does. It makes, I mean, and I've heard it, but this is the first year I implemented it, right? And then I did the side-by-side and saw that they were nowhere near as nice as
I'm
the
gonna
other
be
ones.
screwed into this off because I got glue here, but I don't think this really bothers the stream. You just let me know if it does.
No, usually it's not too loud. Except for today, that one's pretty loud. Today.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, it was pretty loud.
And we got the air compressor again.
Now the air compressor mutes itself out, but that is still loud. That's funny. Well, you know, and the problem is with the a lot of times we use foundation because we don't have the drawn comb. It's a perfect thing if you've got a dead out to use that old comb when you're putting new nukes and stuff in. So I kind of did what Brad says. If you're going to draw a foundation, put it in the honey super. Let them draw it in the honey super.
That's
And,
I don't ever draw comb in a brood chamber. Ever.
So typically, if you needed to draw comb, you would use last year's honeycomb and put it in the brood box for your brood, and then draw new.
I have the freedom to do that because I run all deeps.
Right.
Right. No, I have the freedom to do that because I run all one size of frame. Yeah, you don't have to run all deeps to do that. You can run all medium. Okay, I just want to qualify that. But you can run all shallows if you want. If that's the thing. But you know what I'm saying.
But the less different sizes you have are better.
Yeah. Like I run some mediums, mostly for comb production, comb honey. They work really nice with comb honey. Two more. One more.
Perfect. And all this time we've been live, 47 minutes, you've glued one piece of wood down.
Yeah. This is not a how-to. Well, I appreciate the chat while I'm doing my thing in here. It sure gets, I appreciate the work. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the work. I love getting orders, everything. It just the same thing over and over. So it's not very exciting.
It's kind of redundant. But before you're done, everybody in Manitoba will have Faith Apiaries woodenware.
That's my goal.
And, you'll go by somebody's yard and be like, wow, look at that. That's a nice looking pallet. Oh, that's one of mine. I've heard you say it when we've watched one of Ian's videos. You see that pallet right there? I made that pallet.
I met a young guy at Ian's. He came over to get some stuff. We talked for quite some time, and he was showing Ian what he was doing. He says, we actually built an easy loader, and it looked like a nice unit too. He said it worked pretty good. And he was showing the easy loader, but in showing the easy loader, he showed his two-way pallet system. He said, yeah, we're just kind of doing what you're doing with the pallets and everything like that. And I got looking really close at the pictures he was showing on his phone, and I looked at that and I said, that's a really cool cover and pallet interlocking system you've got there. Yeah, it works really good. He says that's a good design. It works really well. And he had no idea where it came from. At least he didn't say. And both Ian and I are sitting there chuckling
because everybody's using it now.
Well, I don't know. I never seen anybody use it before. I kind of, quote, invented it, but maybe they did. I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of fun. I love seeing it. I just love seeing it. Jack did a bunch and what.
Brian's got jokes this afternoon.
Yeah.
He said Brad can go into business with Tom, and they can call their business Hog Bacon.
What? Brad
Tom
giving
Bacon
business
and
to
Brad
Tom, we're
Hogg.
going on bacon.
Or Canadian bacon.
Canadian bacon.
Then there would be a such thing as Canadian bacon.
Well, if Tom moved to Canada, he'd be Canadian bacon. Ran out of glue.
And you buy that stuff by the case.
I do. I do.
Hey, look what came in today.
When I take these off, I cut the end off so that the end doesn't go through my garbage bag.
Look what came in today. You
What's
know,
that?
if you
Got a tote lid?
it's a tote lid. So if you followed it, of course, the tote I bought for my syrup had a lid on it, and
Yeah. And then you
I was
lost
making sure that I put my tote lid back on every time because I had to buy another tote lid. Well, I went out there the other day after I drove down to the store somewhere in my truck, came back. Guess what? No tote lid was gone, so I had to buy another one. So
Put a string on that.
I'm gonna have to do something to it.
Yeah, this is my glue.
Just a little bit. Is that similar to liquid nails?
I think so. It's PL Premium. It's one of the best glues ever. You can glue cement together with this stuff. Really good glue. Here's a neat little thing.
It's almost too good when you put it in the wrong spot.
This caulking gun. You know it's stuck. I can't even show you.
Here we are in the middle of the day, and there's 51 people watching.
So you cut the tube off, but there's a seal inside you have to break, right? There's a little thing on there.
Just to pop it open.
Break that seal. Throw it away and Bob's your uncle.
Until it glues itself to itself.
Which it kind of did. So then instead of needing a tool to break the seal, you need a tool to get the seal breaker thing broken loose.
Hey, Keith, it rained here for so long I didn't even realize it rained until I went outside. It rained just a few minutes. It was done. And you've got all that pre-marked already.
It's so soggy here, man. My tractor is grounded. I can't move it anywhere. I can hardly move it on the gravel areas of my yard. Terrible. Terrible. Yeah, I chamfer the end of my runner. That is. But when you have your lid and you're trying to put these together with your forklift, put the hives on top of one another. I round this over, and I also chamfer this corner so that when you just about get it right, it'll slip in place instead of just catch on. You know, if it's square, the first ones I made square, and you wouldn't believe how close you can get that, and it won't drop in there. So I rounded that one and chamfered that one, and they slide in together really nice. Yeah. It's a little thing, you know, it makes your day so much better because of that.
Phil said many people don't know you can click the movable handle forward after place the glue and it won't keep oozing out.
Well, I do that, but it still comes out. Yeah, especially when you first open the tube, because you squeeze it, it pressurizes a bit, so it always it does cut it down a lot.
So you pack it in place with the staple and then screws.
Okay.
you tacked it in place with a staple, then come back with a couple screws?
Yeah, just because I want to get it perfectly flush with the 2x4 on the side. And this one is actually pretty good, but I could make it better. And this is how I'm going to make it better. This is why I'm doing it. Because this plywood and this runner are exactly the same length. Okay, so if I put the plywood and the riser together, and then I go to put the runner on, and it doesn't line up on the end, it means that either the riser, the 2x4 riser, is tipped for some reason, or the plywood isn't flat. And again, so it's both, and they're tipped, either that way or that way. So then what I do, my clamps. This clamp is called spreader clamp. See how I've got it turned so
Backwards.
that it'll push open instead of pull close. Put that in here. Just give that a little push. Then drive through that. So now, if there's any bow in the plywood or anything wrong, now I can line it up perfectly, top and bottom. Because I think what you don't want is your pallet sitting like this, because
Right.
it's going to rock around. And I think you don't want it sitting like this either, because then your stacks of honey supers are going to be splayed out. Hit the floor.
Well, that could even, if it's bowed, it could even, the boxes may not even fit correctly in those U-clips too well, right?
Yeah, you never know. So that's just why I go to that extra step to make sure that because I know this runner and this plywood are the same length. So there's no reason they shouldn't line up perfectly. That's one.
Hey, Ian, good to see you.
Hey, boss. Yeah, it is a good day for shop. Thanks for the visit yesterday. Day before. Yesterday, they all
Run together.
we all meld together. Yeah. So he gets to sit on YouTube and watch somebody build his equipment. Is it still snowing out your way, Ian?
It snowed here 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
You poor thing. How do you do it?
I don't know. That was 2 years too soon too.
Yep.
But I would like a place where it just kind of stayed 70, 74 degrees, right in that zone all year long would be perfect.
Well, I think it's snowing here. Oh, yeah, it's still snowing a little bit. Okay, so that's all I'm doing on that one, because I find it a bit nicer to let that all dry before I do the top. You know what? Not a big deal if you guys are here. Let's do the top. Let's do the top. So, gotta start with some glue.
I like your little glue container there too.
Yeah, this is pretty handy. Type on 3 waterproof food grade glue. This is it's called a glue bot. Can you see the lettering on that?
I can't see it. called a glue bot, B-O-T.
Glue bot. Yeah, glue-bot. I think it's look online for fast cap. And I'm gonna spread this with fingers.
Fast cap glue bot.
The one.
They got a
Thanks, buddy. Ian likes the equipment. I really appreciate that.
well, there's an Amazon link that I'm dropping in the chat. I don't know if it's going to go to your chat or not, but for the glue bot, 16 ounce and a set of 2 silicone glue brushes.
The silicone glue brushes are nice. That's what I'd be using.
It's $18 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Or I believe they have.
Don't get me going, Norman. Don't get me going, man.
They have a 6 ounce one and a 16 ounce one.
Well, this is probably the 16 ounce. Of course, that's a bit of a foreign system to me.
So I'll drop that link as well if anybody likes those things.
Fast cap. Kind of the reason it's called fast cap. This company, they kind of are innovative, and they're not afraid to make different things. The name fast cap is that what they make is little plastic caps that you put on when you build something or have some cabinet or something that has a screw, and then you put that little cap in the hole to cover the head of the screw.
Right.
That's a fast cap. Loading Brad equipment puts me in a good mood after loading. Oh, that's nice to hear. Because that's, like I was showing you, that little round over and that chamfer, that can change your day, man. That really can.
Especially when you're loading a brand new international international / Chevrolet truck with a brand new welded deck on there.
That's a nice truck.
That is a nice truck.
Saw that truck on Wednesday.
I'm just glad it's got an international emblem. Do what?
I saw Carrie driving it for a bit too.
Carrie drove the new truck?
Yeah. Well, I mean, she moved it around the yard, I saw.
She's probably getting her company's qualifications under her belt. Her driver qualifications.
Oh, she's qualified, sure.
His brother says it rides rough. It's a work truck.
It's a Chevy. I think his brother drives the Ram.
Is he a Ram driver?
Well, which brother?
One's a plane driver.
Maybe it's the pilot. It's like, this truck is rough. It's like.
Then Ian would have said, "Have you felt your landings?"
I was just gonna say, I felt your landings. Don't judge. Yeah. So,
Adam, the Dodge guy.
These shims in the middle, they need to go in just the right place. I've got these little spacers. Put those in. I poured over how to do this just right. And you see this one's a little different on the 3-way. So this isn't Ian's equipment because he's not getting 3-ways. So the 2-way center shim is like this. This is actually a rabbit because it's got 2 sides. got a shoulder base. So that goes up against the back shim. Whereas on the 3-way, the front one, and this is the place where you put that clip, the box clip. The front part that sticks out in front of the hive is just this part. On the 2-way, that's a separate piece that goes across. So this is actually a dado because it's got 3 sides. It's got 2 shoulders and a base. So there's your education for today.
Rabbits have 2 sides. Dados have 3.
Right. And if that were, here's getting technical. That's a dado. Because it runs across the grain. If it ran with the grain, it would be a groove.
So you didn't get your groove on while you were making this then?
Do not get your groove on while doing this, because it should be a dado. If you get your groove on, you did it in the wrong direction.
But that kind of looks like it's got a dado and a rabbit on one end.
This one?
The dado side. Or is it the same? Maybe it was just the camera angle. I was looking at it.
No, it's straight on the end.
Ian liked the groove on comment.
Yeah, this just got.
It's the same height on both sides of it.
Straight on that end.
Gotcha.
Because this part, this rear shim takes up the other side. That, right? And
Bad things. If I was doing this, I would have to make those spacer shims every time because I would lose them somewhere in my scrap pile. Every time.
Well, I make them every year. Because I do. I lose them. I make this every year. Because I'll lose it. Crazy. Crazy though that happens. Oh, not much to chat. Wow.
Break out the Kraken and everyone will be getting their groove on, like Charlie.
Can you imagine what my pallets would look like if I was enjoying Kraken right now?
If you released the Kraken during the middle of the workday?
Yeah. Yeah, it might get more done.
You just work longer because you would lose track of time.
Right. I do that anyway.
And you wouldn't be feeling the pain.
No, I wouldn't feel the pain. No pain felt. That is there.
Hey, that's a good idea. Can't believe you said paint the spacers so you don't throw them away.
Yep. Well, they do have paint on them, see? Gotta kind of sit here. Sit this way. So that's it. That's a 3-way. And not that kind of 3-way. It's just needs to be trimmed after the glue dries. This stuff squeezes out bad, so after it dries, I'll just trim that with my utility knife. Yeah. So
the only thing left for that is clips.
Yeah. So this is how I do the clip. I'll show you. I always have a box. These boxes are exactly 11 inches wide. They're exactly 11 inches wide. Don't forget, it's a 7/8 box. If you're building on 3/4, then it might be 10 and 3/4 wide. 10 and 1/4. However, this is what I do because I need to get this center one. Need to get this center one just right because it has to be captured between 2 clips, right?
Right.
So it's got to be bang on. So line this box up with my center shim. so that it's kind of equidistant, nicely lined up on those shims. And then I like to use this pencil because I don't want to draw right down. I want to angle that so that the line is right below the edge of the box.
See, if you'd have got your groove on, you wouldn't have to mark it with a pencil.
It just would have a groove.
Could have had a groove right down the middle.
So then, I can take my clip, my drill. I like to drill these so that it doesn't split the wood. This got crap.
Danae says Brad is like the Bob Ross of woodworking. Happy little boxes.
So I look and see if I just want to see that line in the middle of the screw hole. And just a little bit of a drill. I don't want to go all the way through. I just want to go through this, or at least most of the way through this piece of wood.
So it doesn't break out when you run the screws in?
Right. So these clips get really expensive. I think when I first started buying these, they were about 60 cents. And now they're about $1.60. Everything's going up so much. So, okay. So here's one thing that's different between the 2-way and 3-way is this screw. Because on a 2-way pallet, these screws will go through into the 2x4 riser. So you've got a lot of meat there. 3-way, you don't have as much meat because there's nothing under this. Just the plywood. So what I've done is I bought a number 10 1.25 screw, the panhead screw, thread all the way up. It's a nice diameter. It's got lots of meat there. I'm just demoing it. I'm going to put this on. I'll start one before I'll start them both before I tighten them up. So if I did that right, then that screw shouldn't screw. It does. So that's it. That's the complete thing. I don't put those on at this point, partly because I have to trim these, but I also will give the clips and screws to the customer because once
that way it gets wax dipped underneath as well.
Well, they'll wax dip it, but also for transport and stuff.
You don't want to
way
damage
harder to stack and everything with the clips on. So I just give the customer a box of screws and a box of clips. I mean, if he wants me to clip them when I deliver, that's fine. I'll do it. It doesn't take that long. So yeah, so that's the deal. So
looks good.
I'm sure glad Ian likes equipment. That's my goal. Want customer to enjoy the equipment.
Final trim. Off to the wax dipper.
Yeah.
Delivered to the customer with clips.
Yeah. So these are all coming back, and the wax dipping company, boy, they're sure good to me. I'll go there with a whole trailer load, and I'll say, these 2 pallets I want dipped while I wait. So no problem. Way they go. Is there? Yeah. You see Ian tipping up his boxes the way he does on his channel, and I think if that angled part wasn't there, he tipped that box up. I think it might interfere with the front of the box.
Might rub on the front of the box.
Yeah, might be harder because you kind of then have to pull it straight up to get it clear. Depending on how tight the clip is, I don't make them perfectly tight. they're a good 3/8 slop in there. So these boxes can move back and forth like that once they're clipped together. But that's the idea. What was I saying? Yeah, so I'll make a bit of equipment for me, some covers, some pallets, and then I'll buy a bunch of these 6-frame boxes when I go there. They'll dip my pallets, they'll dip my covers, and then I can bring those back for myself, and a few of these are for another customer. So I might even be able to deliver those on the way back. Thanks, Craig.
Hanley said, "Got to run, Brad. Thanks for reminding us just how much YouTube can slow our work down. Nice work."
Okay, see ya.
Well, we've been going for an hour and 15 minutes, guys. So we just thought it'd be a nice little stream here with Brad in the wood shop, and you get to see what he's working on today and how he puts it together. And thought we'd share that with you. I offered nothing but side commentary. So,
Well,
as normal.
nice
Just
to have conversation.
It's always nice to be able, when you're talking to the screen and I'm looking at somebody across from me on the other channel, and it definitely makes the flow go much better during a stream.
Yeah, it is difficult if you're the only one.
So, at any rate, guys, we appreciate you. We're going to go ahead and cut this. Charlie's on tonight at 8 o'clock, what I saw. I dropped the video earlier today. Brad's vlog comes out tomorrow morning, as it does every week. So, every week. So, be looking forward to those. And if you haven't liked, shared, and subscribed to those channels, please do that. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys on the next stream.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Goodbye.